Hey, here we are rolling right here at the Lonestar Sports Show on the Lonestar Sports Network, giving it to you like it is. All things sports, all things Texas. It's the fall of the year. The weather's back, the heat's backed off, but the heat is still going in the sports world. All kind of things all over the place. Today's show is brought to you by FastMallSports.com. The college basketball scandal kicked off and got started today. Everything started to get where it is and started to line up in your federal courts. And Jim Gatto and his attorney took the stand today and started the finger pointing. Everything started to go in the direction. Everybody knew it was coming. We just didn't know when it was coming. It's kind of like that big hurricane out there. So y'all put your seatbelts on in the college basketball world, and we're going to be right here praying for all the families that are involved in this process that are going to feel the raft of all the things that will be going on between the FBI, the NCAA, and all of the Power 5 type institutions that will be involved in this situation. But most of all, we pray for the families that are involved in this situation, that everybody comes out and finds their place and where they're supposed to be in this whole deal. But we are looking forward to moving along in this process, and have more to talk about on this whole situation on Basketball Thursday. We'll have a lot more thoughts, and as the whole situation unfolds, it's an unfortunacy. But sometimes when an industry is as successful as college basketball is, and as basketball as a whole across the mark, as successful as they are, you have to have some shakeups sometimes, things, and hopefully we'll all come out on the better side of this thing when it's all said and done, of having a better place for student athletes to have a chance to pursue their college basketball careers and moving along in the process. But it's going to be crazy before it's all said and done. It's going to be a lot of things brought to the table. You know, I've heard some of the NBA guys talking about their experiences in college basketball and what they've experienced. So it's going to be an opportunity for, hopefully this thing will take on the right shape. Grassroots basketball is going to have to take a certain amount of responsibility in this situation. And I think all parties have to be looked at and evaluated. And most of all, the player has to come out of this process is better. And we know that basketball and student athletes have been able to function and propel themselves into situations through education and through professional careers. And this is the leagues that actually fuel the NFL and the NBA. So I mean, it's real deal. It just has to be the appropriate organized space. Someone once told me the basketball is one of the most disorganized spaces in all of sports, and we know where sports falls on the great sense of, what all the things that they do. Sports plays in the economy in the United States of America and globally. So we'll get it right. And like I say, we hopefully that everybody comes out of this situation on the right side of all things. But crazier things are going on right here in the state of Texas. Things are doing what they do. Got Texas OU weekend coming up, but we cannot go and not take a look at what happened on Monday Night Football. Monday Night Football, Patrick Mahomes from White House, Texas, right here about 100 miles east of us. Some of you may know of Tyler, Texas. It's a suburb of Tyler, Texas. Tyler, Texas has a suburb. Or do you just say it's a small town close to Tyler, Texas? Right outside. And White House has some interesting history in the past that we won't go into, but this is one of the brighter things of what has come out of White House. I have a very close friend that lives in White House. Head coach at Mike Marcus of Tyler Junior College resides in White House, and they have produced, Division I players out of White House High School in both football and basketball. But Patrick Mahomes takes it to a whole nother level. It's funny how, the whole stardom and of Patrick Mahomes just really just kind of weaves itself into multiple topics tonight. We're going to talk Texas Longhorn football and why they are where they are, even though they are 3-1. We're going to talk about the Cowboys. We're going to talk about their quarterback and their offensive situation and why that is what it is and why it is. So we have a lot of things to discuss and talk about tonight and visit. But guess what? Texas is pretty much the center of the universe for sports in the United States of America. I know a lot of people might want to argue with that, but I can statistically back it up. No matter what you want to do, you cannot exclude Texas from the process. But we sitting here talking about it and lying up looking at it. Big one coming this weekend. Always sells the hotels out. Hotel rates go up. If you got a staycation in mind, hopefully you made your reservations ahead of time because of the Texas OU weekend. Hotel rates have soared on all of your major internet providers that produce various opportunities to go and book a hotel room. So no sneaking away, getting away from the house this weekend unless you're ready to swipe your credit card and swipe it hard because rooms all the way to the urban and into the suburbs are affected by this big event, and when you look at the economic impact of the UT-OU game, it's amazing. I tell you what the really amazing thing is that Jerry Jones has not been able to get his hands on this event. He's gotten his hands on everything else, national championships, big bowls, all of the major college things that go on, but he has not had a chance to get his hands on the UT-OU weekend, the first weekend in October that has such a major impact on what goes on. I can remember back in the old days, it used to be all about, how many people would go to jail, the soaring rate of number of arrests for public intoxication and inappropriate behavior in public situations. So, the UT-OU students and supporters and alums, they act a fool. Let's put it that way. They just break it down, and back in the old days, they used to really just tear up downtown Dallas, vandalism and things of that nature. But things have changed, but it's still a major event for our city. And that one that we can count on in the Dallas area every single year. I tell you what, one of the interesting things is that University of Oklahoma, Norman, Oklahoma, is actually closer to Dallas than Austin, Texas is. It's roughly 190 miles to Austin and 156 miles to Norman, Oklahoma. So, it's who's closer? Is it a home game? It's about as a neutral site of a situation as you can possibly get in a rivalry type situation. Most rivalries rotate. That's the uniqueness of it. Most rivalries rotate back and forward from a kind of home and home type situations that rotate back and forward. And people argue about, Auburn, Alabama, how big is that? UCLA, USC, Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan State, and OU, Texas. It ranks right up there in the top with the city of Dallas or the DFW area being right in the middle of it. And has housed it for a number of years. As that first segment went fast, but we'll come back and talk about why is UT an underdog in this situation. And I have my thoughts, and it's really clear to the fact, and I'll come back and substantiate and stand behind the fact that UT just does not have a dynamic player. As I think it may have been put out on social media, no pros, no championships, and that's pretty much the nature of the business in college sports, that very seldom does anyone win championships without pros, without people that are high-end NBA, NFL prospects. So, you can't expect anything different. I think Tom Herman is doing a solid job coaching. I don't think that's the problem. I think it's a recruiting problem, and there's only two reasons why you don't recruit well, and one is the fact that you don't have the relationships, and the other factor, you can't evaluate talent. Say, what does talent have to do with winning? What does talent have to do with pros? It's a fine line. So we're going to jump on all of that and analyze this situation, why OU is the favorite to win this big national rivalry. Here we are right here at the Lonestar Sports Show on the Lonestar Sports Network. Today's show is brought to you by FastSmallSports.com. This particular segment was brought to you by Hardham Hotels. Hardham Hotels located in Houston, Texas. Go take a look and listen at HardhamHotels.com and see why you should or could put your money where you sleep. Back in 180 seconds with more of the Lone Star Sports Show. Hey, here we are back here at the Lone Star Sports Show. All things sports, all things Texas, right here on the Lone Star Sports Network. On YouTube Live on the Lone Star Sports Network, located there at YouTube Live. Go take a look and see what's going on in the state of Texas according to Alan Branch. And co-host is out tonight watching a little basketball, gave him a break and get away a little bit. And so I'm doing it on the solo side and solo piece of things of giving it to you like it is right here in the great state of Texas. But, you know, you start to look at things. I can't help but kind of twist these things. How do you get a quarterback like a Patrick Mahomes and then another quarterback like the young man Baker Mayfield, and you don't get either one of those guys? You don't get either one of them. And they're Texas kids right there. One of them in your backyard, Lake Travis High School, I believe is right. Westlake, one of those suburban high schools just outside of Austin is where he is. And then you look at Patrick Mahomes right here in East Texas, and there was nothing crazy. And then you turn around and you're playing against, and maybe this could have been an Aggie thing, but you know, you got a kid like Kyler Murray that's leading the OU Sooners this weekend in a situation who's a dynamic quarterback. I mean, has the highest quarterback rating in the Big 12. The problem is there. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, let me give him his props. Let me deviate just a little bit. Patrick Mahomes is a gamer. Brent Favre was a gamer. Rodgers is a gamer. You've got to look at guys that are gamers, and I mean just full blown guys that live for the moment. The more intense and the more bigger the moment becomes, the more relaxed they become. The less intimidated by the moment that they are. And that's one of the things that you got to always look. Some people like to call it a clutch gene. Well, I mean, and that's okay. You can call it a clutch gene, but in actuality, clutch gene is nothing more than enough confidence in your ability, to feel like I'm not afraid of failure. I'm not afraid of a mistake. I'm not afraid of things breaking down and not working the way that the desired outcome is in that particular situation, whether it's a fourth down, whether it's seconds to go in a game, whether it's a big shot in basketball. You look all the way through NBA basketball. It's one of the things that that kind of always got LeBron James, back and forth. And we know he's the greatest player, so I'm not arguing that point. But that was one of the fingers when you start talking about Michael Jordan. Was he a clutch player? But right now, what I'm saying is the biggest challenge is to have the ability to evaluate the clutch gene, being able to, and then having the relationships to recruit the clutch gene, the player that possesses the clutch gene. First of all, you got to be able to recognize it. You can't recruit what you don't recognize. And right now, when I look at the University of Texas and I look at the program from a distance, obviously I'm a basketball scout, but when I look at it, what is wrong, or why is it that the University of Texas, where I went to school for 2 years, what is it, one of the greatest places, one of the richest universities, making more money in sports than revenue generated than any other institution, in college sports, way beyond Alabama. They pride themselves in having the best of everything, from facilities to considered one of probably the wealthiest institution on the face of the earth. Why is it that you're not getting Heisman candidates? Why is it that you're not getting first-round draft choices? Why is it that you're not getting guys elite category? I want to do this, and I'm not a big guy on all this, but when you look down through individual statistics, and y'all can check me out there if you want, but at this given time, on October the 2nd, 2018, University of Texas does not have an individual player in the top 5 in the Big 12. I ain't talking about in the country. I'm talking about in the Big 12. They don't have an individual player in the Big 12 right now that's in the top 5 in any category, rushing, receiving, and they have a couple of guys, and we'll get around that too, and we'll lean back onto some of the choices and some of the things that Mac Brown pointed out, is that they have some guys, and it's going to be the key to them having any kind of a chance this weekend. But it just comes down to the fact you're not getting studs. And we like to call them studs. I don't like to call them that, because I look at the quarterback that was at A&M that had all the off-field problems and stuff. I think is in the Canadian League doing fairly well right now. It's not all about just a stud. It's just being able to identify the intangibles. I had breakfast with a head coach, a Division I head coach recently. We're just talking. It's not even really about recruits. We're just talking about the business. And one of the things we talked about is the ability to identify intangibles. What is it in this human being? What it is in this young man? We're talking football now. What is it that that he's going to feel? I looked at all the interviews on Patrick Mahomes, and when you look back, they had no problem all the way back to his high school coach. I even heard one of my close friend, Mike Marcus, man, this kid is something special, kids that do it with a certain amount of joy. Vincent Young, I realized that he had the clutch gene when seeing him playing in a fall league basketball tournament in Houston, Texas, in his sophomore, junior year as a small forward wing player. He was a clutch guy. I mean, you think back about when they won the national championship in the USC game. Those were clutch situations. That's when those guys get comfortable in those kind of a situation. You look at a Patrick Mahomes. You look at Baker Mayfield. You go back and check the records. I love to refer to my eyewitness on the set all the time, Lady Life. Lady Life will go back just like I told you about Colin Kaepernick. Lady Life will go back and let you know and can track it down and let you know what I thought about Baker Mayfield. He's a gamer. You know, guys like that don't tighten up, they loosen up. I've seen them in all sports for a long time. You look at your clutch shooters, clutch performers in basketball, football, you know, you look at your Roger Staubachs, your Tarkinen, my favorite, Joe Montana. They live for big moments, you know. They've rehearsed that in their head so many times that they're just waiting for the opportunity. So all of the pressure goes out the window. Well, one of the things that I'm saying here is that if you look at the University of Texas, whenever they've been good, you know, and we're going to get to some Dallas Cowboy stuff here on down the road. We're probably going to have a guest coming in and who's kind of an undercover Dallas Cowboy hater and lover all at the same time. Very disgruntled Dallas Cowboy fan. That's what we'll call Cox tonight. But the point comes down to it is that you have to have guys with that kind of, some people like to call it leadership. I don't think it's really leadership because a lot of times leaders on a team recognize who their clutch guy is and they know how to support him and make him feel good about being clutch. That's where team chemistry rolls and all this stuff. But, you know, you just look at the University of Texas and you're in a situation, you're coming into the Cotton Bowl, big, huge rivalry, arguably the biggest or one of the biggest rivalries in college football. You coming into Dallas, Texas, in the Cotton Bowl, it's always sold out, been sold out, never not been sold out, and you walking in to play a connecting state rivalry, long-term, probably right at 100-year-old rivalry, and you're walking in to play this game. You don't have one guy that you can point the finger at that can take you into a close game, one that you feel like you can call on, a go-to guy. You know, players have go-to moves and go-to things. Well, University of Texas doesn't have a go-to guy, but they don't have anybody to look at. You know, I am impressed with the receiver. They have some big receivers, but you stop and look at it, how those big receivers being utilized. You know, maybe these guys, sometimes, you know, one thing about it is now, you'll never know a clutch player has clutch gene if you don't run clutch plays and put them in clutch situations. That's a fact that it just doesn't happen if you don't do that. So, you know, that Longhorns got a problem there. Longhorns got a clutch problem. They got a recruiting problem. Okay, we say recruiting, you know, comes down to two things. It comes down to relationships and the ability to evaluate. First of all, you got to know one when you see it, and then you got to have enough kind of relationships because I mean, you can't talk about budget. You can't talk about anything that's going on with how things work, and as far as having the means. I mean, University of Texas has all the means to do, you know, any and everything that they're in pursuit of. So it's not any of that. So what is it? You know, what does it come down to? What makes this work the way it works and not work the way it's working for the Longhorns right now? So I mean, they walk into this situation in trouble. You know, they walk into it in trouble. I think they're a stable enough team. They're 3-1. That's a good thing. And but they walk into this situation, having lost this game in the last three years. They haven't won since 2013, 2014. They haven't won in this rivalry. And Longhorn supporters are not comfortable with that being a fact, you know, and why should they? They don't have to be comfortable with it being a fact. So it's an interesting piece of how all of this goes and why it goes the way it goes. But, you know, as we say, we shall see. But right here on the Lone Star Sports Show, on the Lone Star Sports Network, Cowboys go in underdogs and without a clutch guy. Doesn't look good for the Longhorns to get it figured out this weekend. So we'll see what's next going on. We're going to dive in here and look at these Dallas Cowboys and take a clean look at that. All things sports, all things Texas right here on the Lone Star Sports Network. Today's show is brought to you by FastModelSports.com. You got Lady Life, Under Your Money, and yours truly, Alan Branch, giving it to you like it is. This particular segment was brought to you by Fast Recruit. Fast Recruit is right there at fastmallsports.com. Back in 180 seconds with more Lone Star Sports Show. Hey, here we are at the Lone Star Sports Show, Lone Star Sports Network. We got my main man, disgruntled, upset, but always tells it like it is. Straight out of Oak Cliff, Texas, in the heart of it, right out off of Bowling Green Street. The whole deal. Jimmy Cox. Cox, how you doing today, man?
It's all good, Coach. What's popping?
Man, it's a lot popping.
Glad to be here. Glad to be here.
There's a whole lot popping. You know, we could go all over the place. We're going to talk some Dallas Cowboys. I just got off of that whole Texas OU thing and what the University of Texas problems are down there. And it all comes down to it, Coach. This stuff just doesn't work very good without players. You were around a lot of the championships at Kimball High School. Did y'all ever go into or get on the bus and head down to the Irwin Center to play for a UIL 4A, 5A championship without a clutch guy? Did you ever go down there when you feel like you didn't have a dynamic player?
Coach, we made it a point to make sure that we had one and a possible. Like spades.
That's exactly right. I mean, I like that approach of one and a possible. And, I mean, I know you came on to talk about the Cowboys, but I just can't quite get off of this. What does it tell you about the University of Texas when you look at the Big 12 individual statistics and you look at all the categories and they don't have a guy in the top 5 in one category? What does that say to Jimmy Cox? You got a pretty good athletic sports, basketball, football acumen. I mean, you're fairly intelligent. That's a nice way of saying you're intelligent. Mm-hmm. But what does that say to you? Mm-hmm.
Coach, this means you better win.
Mm.
Because the only way you get around that is you have to win. And maybe Coach feels he has some things that's not there. But, Coach, University of Texas is always in a hurry. They're always in a hurry, Coach. Well, so most programs, put top-tier coaches there, give them an opportunity to do what they need to do and get it done. But Texas does not get those top players. We watch Alabama, one of the quarterbacks down the street from the University of Texas. Still, Coach, we lose him. We got a young man that's playing lights out at the University of Oklahoma. Yeah. Went to A&M, it didn't happen. So,
yeah, but I mean, he was a Dallas kid before that. Now,
he was a Dallas kid before that, and we just lose those top players in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, the University of Texas is one of many schools in Texas that are not keeping those top players.
Yeah. Well, and there's only 2 reasons that Alan Branch says there's only 2 reasons that you have a recruiting problem if you don't have a money problem. If you got plenty of money. So we know University of Texas has plenty of money. They don't have budget issues. That's not a problem. That's not a problem.
That's not an issue.
So you strike that off and look at the other 2 reasons. Either you have an evaluation ability to identify players problem, or you got relationship problems and you can't recruit good players. Is there any? Could there be any remnant of truth to what I just said, Coach?
There's a lot of truth to that. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of truth to that, and I think, unfortunately, the last 2 coaches are suffering from the divorce of the coach that won the national championship. And I think there's a lot of that goes on. But money's not an issue at the University of Texas. But the other thing, Coach, is you got to have a coach that comes there that's won on that big stage. And those young players and their parents, players and parents, have to have confidence that the coach that's there is ready to win and be part of that 14 playoff each and every year. And that's what you have to sell every day.
Well,
that's what you have to sell every day.
Roughly 2 minutes and 37 seconds, 3 minutes and 37 seconds into the process, Cox, you made a very viable point. I really want to reiterate that point. Is the part of recruiting is that the parents and the players have enough confidence to entrust their student athlete to you, to feel that they can get where they're trying to go through the vehicle of your program. Did I interpret that right? Was that what you were saying?
That is 100% true, Coach. That is 100% true. That's going to be at the high school level. Championships are great, Coach, but at the end of the day, at high school, parents are looking for their child an opportunity to get a scholarship, play the next level. College is no different. College is no different.
Yeah, and they're in the situation they're looking for it. So when you roll in here and you're playing a game like this rivalry coming up here, and you can't look at not one guy that you have in the top 5, you're walking into, and I've been debating with myself, or not really debating, ain't nobody even to debate against, is the fact is you just don't win big without a clutch guy. And you look at a Patrick Mahoney, you look at a Kyler Murray, you look at the boy with the Cleveland Browns, the quarterback from right outside of Austin, And then you were talking about the quarterback, I guess, that's at Alabama now, that's from right outside of Houston, I guess. That's who you were speaking of?
Hurt. Yes, sir.
Yep, right. Yep. So, I mean, you can say whatever you want to say about Mac Brown, but Mac Brown went and got Vince Young. Vince Young was a clutch player.
Period.
Yeah, period. It's just as simple as that. And if you want to win big, you got to have that guy. So, I mean, because I don't think Tom Herman's a bad coach. I don't think Charlie Strong was a bad coach. But, you can't judge the cook if the cook doesn't have the groceries.
But the cook, part of the $5 million a year, Coach, is to go get the groceries.
Well,
so that's his responsibility. These guys are not minimum wage guys in these positions. So part of their job, part of the salary they get is to go buy the groceries and make it happen. So there's no excuse. Money's not an excuse at the University of Texas. So the assistants get paid good money. The coordinators get paid good money. The people in the state of Texas and Sport UT are there. Coach, you just got to get the job done. At some point, they just got to get the job done.
Got to get the job done, man. I mean, you stop and look at Baker Mayfield, Patrick Mahomes, the hurt kid that's over that played big in the game last year in the national championship there at Alabama, right outside of Houston. And those are three that just come to mind. And then you throw Kyler Murray on there, it makes four. those are four guys, and I'm not involved enough in football, enough they even got them on campus or not. But it doesn't even matter if you got them on campus. Out of four top guys, top quarterbacks in the area, you didn't get one. You got to get one. You got to get one, man. But moving right along, man, we came on here, man. Can I call?
Coach, just to mention what you said, this week is a big week. Again, Baker Mayfield is a kid from Austin, Texas, that you had to go play against at the University of Oklahoma. Now we got another young man you playing against for the University of Oklahoma out of Dallas. So it just we got there's something to be said about this.
Something to be said about that. Then you had to go to Lubbock and play against Patrick Mahomes.
Absolutely, Coach.
So I mean,
go ahead, Coach. What were you going to say?
No, I was just getting ready to break it down. So I mean, I was getting ready to get to this Cowboy situation and just kind of talk about who you are. What could I call you? A disgruntled Cowboy fan, or you just an advocate, NFL Sunday, Monday night, Thursday night guy, or
Coach, I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan.
Okay,
I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, but I'm also real.
Okay,
and I'm tired of having to accept marginal performance from marginal players and coaching staffs. Coach, the only people that are winning in Dallas is the Cowboy organization. We don't win from 190 million to 5 billion, but we haven't won anything. Yep. So we have to stop acting like we're trying to put a winning team out there on the field. We're just being entertained. We're just being entertained, Coach. It's time. We got to just be honest. We're being entertained.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I mean, stopping. There's just so many different angles that you go at this situation. You want to, everybody want to point a finger and say, well, Dak Prescott is not this. No, Dak Prescott is better than serviceable. So let's get that out of it. You explain this to me right here, Coach. How is it that Ezekiel Elliott is considered one of the top 5 running backs, and right now, if you look at statistically, NFL stats,
number one, Coach.
Number one. But you turn back around. In this season, he's carried the ball 15 times, 17 times, 18 times, and this past victory he went up to 25. Now, I'm going to reach out to your NFL football acumen. You spend more time on NFL football than Alan Branch, so you know more about NFL football than Alan Branch. We'll definitely say that. I know a lot of football, but you know more about the NFL. If you have a running back of this caliber, and who we know has not been hurt, didn't even play a full season last year, fairly fresh to the best of our knowledge. We don't have, correct me, we don't have any known injuries with Ezekiel Elliott. Is that correct? Not nursing anything?
Zeke isn't injured. Zeke is healthy. I think we do try to make sure that we don't put Zeke in a bad a bad position to get hurt, because there's not a lot. You don't really replace a Zeke.
No.
If he gets injured. But, Coach, at the end of the day, it's hard to hold Zeke accountable when we lose the 3 facets of the game: offense, defense, special team, and coaching each week. No. Zeke went out Sunday and just said, hey, I'm the best player on the team, and won the game for the Dallas Cowboys.
He did that.
He just went out and said, look, I'm the best player on this team. Give me the ball, and I'm going to go out. And this was a team that we're playing the Detroit Lions. Zeke was good enough to win that game, but in spite of our horrible coaching staff. Right. Our coaches ranked 15th in the league. He's 15. Everybody behind him probably has less than 3 to 4 years of head coaching experience. That should tell you a considerable amount. Our offense is ranked 16. It's marginal.
Yeah, well, our offense is actually 27th right now. We come back from the break right now. Jimmy Cox is going to continue to break this thing down. We're going to chop this thing up. We're going to dissect it and look at it over the next 2 segments. And when you leave here, you're going to understand why the Cowboys can or why the Cowboys can't, and the might and the ifs and all of that's going to be broken down right here on the Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network. You got Jimmy Cox as our guest, advocate, Dallas Cowboy fan, disgruntled Dallas Cowboy fan, Lady Life, Honey the Prince, and yours truly, Alan Branch. Back in 180 seconds with more Lone Star Sports Show. Today's show is brought to you by FastMallSports.com. Hey, we should have had y'all chimed in. Jimmy Cox was at his best right there. He's still with us here. Advocate, sports fan. Served it right there at Kimball High School. Pretty much what I call him, the director of basketball operations at Kimball High School. What I would call you, Jimmy. You took care of the scouting. You made sure things were organized and things like that. And you did it purely out of the goodness and how you cared about kids and supporting Snoop Johnson in that process and all the success y'all had over there. I guess at the time, or a large percentage of the time, you were employed at Kimball High School. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was. It was a great time in my life and for my family, working with Snoopy and all the coaches there and the kids there and the families, just Big E. I mean, when you have a place that you enjoy going to every day, it's always a pleasure to go to work. We had a lot of success. It's easy to be good, though, Coach, when you're surrounded by a bunch of great people and a bunch of great players.
Yeah. No, y'all did a good job, and of that. And we'll go back there. Now, this is one of the things, Coach. I don't know what. Okay, we're gonna go here first. Dez Bryant, I'd rather play for the Cowboys. If not, I'd already be playing somewhere else. What makes him think he would be playing somewhere else? This is the receivers that have been hired or signed since he left in the NFL. Dante Thomas, Brandon LaFell, Houston kid out of Lamar High School. The Eagles re-signed two guys, Jordan Matthews and Marquez Wheaton. The Patriots signed Benny Fowler. Redskins re-signed Brian Quick, Michael Floyd. I mean, they signed 3 receivers. The Vikings signed another receiver. The Saints signed Brandon Tate. The Browns traded to the Patriots. So I mean, there's been plenty of wide receiver activity that has taken place, and I don't feel that Dez Bryant, because of the toe injury, will ever be what you would call your number one guy or number one threat or primary threat. I think he's better than serviceable, in the system of everything that took place. But right now, with Jason Witten retiring, I don't think anything looks any different with Dez Bryant there now. The struggle goes back to, you hit the nail on the head, we're going to drive it in. The struggle goes back to what's going on with the predictability of the play calling of the coaching staff. I don't even call it the whole coaching staff. I don't know what Jason Garrett's hand is in this. You might have a better idea now, but I know the offensive coordinator's hand's got to be somewhere. Somebody got to step up. Somebody's influencing the quarterback. Dak Prescott is not doing all the play calling independently on his own. Yes or no? What do you think, Coach?
I don't think so. Dak has, Dak it's a tough scenario for me. Mm-hmm. We moved pretty quick with Dak, but in reference to Dez, Coach, I think the best thing ever happened to Dez and the Cowboys is what happened to Dez and the Cowboys. I think that I part ways. I think it was at the end of the day, Dez needed to move on, and I think Dez was one of the last what I call Jerry's guys. Mm-hmm. I think he was one of the Jerry Jones type of guys.
So you think this is a Steven move?
I think right now, Coach, on that field, you have Steven and Jason guys. Mm-hmm. I think Jason Witten and Dez leaving was the end of the Jerry Jones type of guys. Mm. You don't have that fire, that tenacity. It's amazing to me, though, but it's great for Dez because now it can't be, hey, Dez didn't catch, Dez didn't get open, he can't run routes. What we're seeing is the mess that Dez highlighted every single week.
Well, I think it's play calling,
but now
though,
we
Coach.
seem to be, well, of course it's play calling, and that's what the young man was trying to get us to understand, but we sort of ostracized him because that's what he said. Yeah. So we got more mad at him for saying it because he was getting a check. So we wanted to Dez was the just day-to-day constant scapegoat that what we now are, we're okay saying Jason Garrett is the issue, and maybe Dak's not as where we think he should be. But the best thing for Dez is that happened. Dez never wanted to leave the Dallas Cowboys, and I don't think Jerry Jones wanted him to. Mm-hmm. I don't think DeMarcus Ware wanted to leave the Dallas Cowboys. But, again, Steven and the rest of the band of clowns that are there. Mm. So it's good for Dez to be gone. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of receivers out there that have signed in other places. I think it's a tough nut for Dez to find what Dez thinks is right for Dez. But, I think Dez will be okay at the end. Any guy that's made that much money over the course of time will be fine. So I'm not going to sympathize with a young man who's a multimillionaire at home talking about looking for a job if he decides to play. Yeah. The Cowboys, on the other hand, allow ego to put the organization in an absolute mess. Okay. Mm-hmm. In an absolute mess. Mm-hmm. You can't have a marginal coach, mm-hmm. marginal offensive coordinator, marginal quarterback.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you.
Marginal receivers, and then expect to have excellence.
Okay. Let me hit you right there, Coach. Dak Prescott, I would not call let me see what your definition of marginal is. Marginal serviceable, or
he's
good
definitely
enough?
Definitely above serviceable.
Okay, all right, okay. So I don't call that marginal. Then that's just a play on words. That's where you
above serviceable.
Yeah, above serviceable. So he's not great, but he's plenty good enough, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I mean, what did you see in 2016? You saying, was it play calling? Was it chemistry? Was it rookie luck? Was it I mean, I know what I think it was. Go ahead.
Coach, it was a whole bunch of clicking with a lot of good pieces that are working together. And it was somebody who was hungry, not worrying about the payday and making a mistake and being exposed. The other thing is that you had during that season is somebody sitting behind him, pushing him. The moment we stopped putting somebody in that number 2 spot to push him, we were so quick to just give this entire franchise to Dak. We were very quick to do that after Romo. We were very quick to give him the entire franchise after a season or 2. Now it's time to pay him. But Dak's going to get a reality, and Zeke's going to get a reality. When it's time for the Jones family to pay you, you're going to understand how Dez and the rest of these athletes and Mr. Smith and all the rest of them have to go through trying to get paid by the Dallas Cowboys.
Makes sense. Makes some rational sense. But, to that whole Dak Prescott situation, when you have a young quarterback, you have to understand. I thought the Dallas Cowboys did a really good job staff-wise. That's what's so confusing, and you might want to let me in on it, but they don't have that coach anymore or somewhere along those lines. But that's what's so confusing, how they put him in high percentage, I don't want to call it West Coast offense type stuff, but a little dink and dunk, things to get timing, to you stop and think the majority of the touchdown passes that Dak Prescott has thrown this year have come off of play action stuff off of Zeke. I just don't think that they're you go back and you say that Zeke doesn't need that many carries. This is why I disagree with you right there, Cox. I don't think necessarily he needs that many carries to get his yards, but he needs that many carries to keep the keep the opposing defense honest enough to have an opportunity to be successful at doing anything else. Do you understand where I'm coming from there, or you might want to?
I understand. I understand what you. I mean, I'm tracking with you.
Yeah, okay. You're a little younger than me, but you remember Alan Branch as a high school quarterback. There was nothing dynamic. I was a smart quarterback. I was fairly successful. But it was based on the fact that the rhythm of things and the other threats kept me in position, so I wasn't asked to perform outside of my comfort zone, which it would allow. Anytime they wanted to do that, we had a young stud named Jeffrey Jacobs that went on to play at SMU and with the Minnesota Vikings that played behind me there. Anytime they wanted to do something crazy and risky, they would try it with Jeffrey because he was bigger, more talented, faster, those things. But when it required a rhythm of being able to go and get a 9-1 record in high school, it was more relied on me to play at a more conservative, smart way. That's the way I see Dak Prescott at the NFL level is that you've got to utilize him to his strengths. And guess what?
Coach, I'm with you, but this is the deal.
Okay.
It's tough on Dak.
Okay.
Because every other team in the league, this is why I have a problem with the Jones family. Okay. And this is why I said that we're just putting a product out to entertain. Anyone as good in business as the Jones family has to be smart enough to understand every other team in the league put real money in those positions when they draft players. Okay? So when you go out here, the Patriots, you got Josh McDaniel. You get what I'm saying? They're going to go out and put somebody with these people, these young players, to make sense. Look at what Andy Reid is doing to this kid in Kansas City. Coach, you can't go get Dak and not give him the best coach that he needs to be successful.
Okay.
You just can't do it, and that's what we constantly do. So
we got a mismanagement, and we get ready to go to another break here in a couple minutes. And I'm going to ask you a couple of questions here, and you just kind of give me a little feedback. You're telling me that, and I know you watch. That's why I respect bringing you on. I just don't bring anybody on.
Before the break, coaching is so relevant, Coach.
Yeah. Coaching
is so relevant that if you care about it, you put the right coaches in places for great players. Skip your subject. Look at how many head coaches and former head coaches are on the bench of the Golden State Warriors. The reason why they have assembled that group of talent, not just player-wise, but coach-wise, in order to make sure they get the full best talent each and every night on the court. The Dallas Cowboys does not do that as an organization, and it's crazy. There's no salary cap for coaches. There's nothing. There's
there's nothing that indicates that we're going out and getting Super Bowl experience, guys that have winning deals. Excuse me, not doing my research there. We come back, we're gonna let Jimmy Cox break it down, because one thing about it is you've got to have. I mean, coaching is relevant. He said it right there on the Lonestar Sports Show. You just heard Jimmy Cox say the value and the importance of coaching. And obviously, the Jones family doesn't see it the same way, because we got problems in Cowboy land. We come back, we're gonna talk about how this thing can get better and why Alan Branch thinks they could possibly make the playoffs if they can find their way. Lonestar Sports Show right here on the Lonestar Sports Network. All things sports, all things Texas. Doing it like it is. Today's show is brought to you by FastSmallSports.com. Go take a look at FastSmallSports.com Playbank and see how they are leading basketball into the 21st century through the vehicle of technology. Back in 180 seconds, you got my main man, Jimmy Cox, Cowboy enthusiast, disgruntled Cowboy fan, giving it to us like it really, really and truly is. Lady Life, Honey and Money, and yours truly, Alan Branch. Hey, we're all back here at the Lonestar Sports Show, giving it to you right here in North Texas, the heart of Oak Cliff. All things sports, all things Texas, right here on the Lonestar Sports Show on the Lonestar Sports Network. Right here, we got Jimmy Cox coming in, breaking it down like it is in this football hour. While we're giving it to you on this Tuesday night in the fall of the year, is definitely in the middle of the heart of football season. Lady Life, Honey Money, keeping it where it needs to be, and yours truly, Alan Branch. Continue to thank Fast Small Sports for all that they do and where we are in this process, and we want to continue to work and keep things like they are. We've looked at a lot of different angles, but you know what? I like to give credit where credit's due. Jimmy Cox, you may have just opened up pull the top off of it. If the Dallas Cowboys are sitting there with aspirations of, being a competitive NFL team, I mean, what's competitive when you consistently are 12-4, 14-2, NFC Conference Championship games and second round of playoffs? And when you're in it like that right there, that's looking for that Super Bowl chance. That's when you're in the hunt. Yes or no? Is that? Would you agree with that, Cox? Did we lose Cox? Cox, you still there?
I'm
Okay. You got me okay now?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. All right. They didn't have it adjusted where I could hear you. But were you able to hear everything that I was just presenting?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I mean, would you call that's a competitive NFL franchise that can continuously be 11-5, 12-4, 14-2, NFC championship, conference championship games, into the playoffs, looking for Super Bowl berths every year. That's a good product.
Because that's what you want.
Mm-hmm.
What we've chosen to do with the Dallas Cowboys is to hire coach managers, guys who are just managing the day-to-day operation of the Jones family business. And in order to win, we ain't just go back for a second, Coach. Let's just go back and look. These are names: Dungy, Fossil, Tomlin, Harbaugh, Belichick, Fox, Peterson. The one thing all those gentlemen have in common is they're all leaders. We don't have a leader, Coach. We have those organizations put leadership in place. So those coaches are leaders. We don't have, those guys aren't just game managers. They lead those organizations to Super Bowls and to victories, multiple Super Bowls and victories. The Cowboys are just hiring somebody to come down there and facilitate and entertain us on weekends and have press conferences. They're not hiring leaders. Leaders affect change in the organization. We can't tell you one thing that Jason Garrett does as a Cowboy head coach that he has his finger on as a leader.
No.
If you talk about Mike Tomlin, you say it's tough. You talk about Belichick, you talk about work ethic. You talk about detail. You talk about fostering hard work. You talk about the Packers. You talk about, how hard they play, the teamwork, the Eagles, the offensive scheme. All those teams have something that you can add their coach thumbprint.
Well, one thing I know about coaching, I mean, everybody has to start somewhere. But one thing I know about staffs and successful situations, we talked about Golden State Warriors and just successful franchise, you have a lot of winning experience on your benches and in your organization that know how to kind of bring their winning experiences to the table to shape what it is that you're trying to do at that particular time based on, where you are. And I haven't gotten into this deep enough, but it seems to be, to the best of my knowledge, especially on the offensive side, between the head coach and offense, everything I look at is come out of this situation, Cox, is come out in in a football evaluation of decision making and choices and play calling and schemes and looking at the personnel they have, being as predictable as they are. I've been doing it from that basis, and now you've going a little bit deeper into the situation. Is what I'm getting from you. So I mean, is that am I right there?
Coach, you have to go deeper because it all starts right there.
Okay.
All these other organizations have true leaders that are in those positions to affect change. At the end of the day, Coach, those teams that I just mentioned, those organizations, Coach, you can't tell me where Jason Garrett would even remotely interview for another head coaching job in the NFL.
Wow. So if
so we have allowed this person to sit here.
How many years has he been the head coach there? 8, 9?
I mean, for most Cowboy fans, we just say too many. So, Coach, where would this person go? Coach, I promise you right now, if Bill Belichick left the New England Patriots, it's not even fair to use Bill Belichick. If Pete Carroll, Coach, there is an opportunity.
So right now we don't even have a legitimate, even though he's all the years he's been a coach, there's nothing that has shown that he's just a legitimate head coaching prospect in the NFL.
Coach, Jason Garrett would not get a top 10 college football head coaching job right now.
Yep.
And let's be honest. Let's be perfectly honest. But yet, he is sitting out here with the Dallas Cowboys, and we're wondering why these players are not doing what they're supposed to do. Because, Coach, there's nothing innovative about what we do. If we look at the average age of young offensive coordinators out there that we're competing with and position coaches, we're not there. We're just not there. our ability to evaluate talent and get it done is just not there. I think it's a locker room that was divided prior to Dez leaving. I think right now we have a bunch of players that are just, running around, trying to figure out if they can get a contract and make it happen. Coach, with $30 million under the cap and one of the best defensive players in the league doesn't have a contract.
He has a broke leg now, Coach. So
no, I'm talking about Lawrence with the Cowboys. So,
okay, right. Yeah, I was thinking about the safety that was up there Coach, that wanted out.
Coach, Dak is above serviceable, but who is the backup to Dak Prescott?
Yeah.
I mean, teams who are serious about winning championships have answers to those questions.
Coach,
and the answers to those questions are in place.
You have exposed the Dallas Cowboy organization tonight, right here on the Lonestar Sports Show. I mean, you have. That's the reason I brought you on, because I know, I know you do a great job at CarMax. You're a great salesman, probably salesman of the year or quarter or whatever out there. And if y'all need a car, you need to go see Cox. Cox will get you lined up. You'll drive away from there happy.
Coach, I just want Cowboy fans to continue to be Cowboy fans like me, but I want us to stop acting like and waking up every day like the Dallas Cowboy organization is committed to winning. We don't have anything going on in our organization that's committed to winning. What do you think is going to happen if you lose Jason Witten and Dez Bryant? These two guys are both on the sideline screaming about how bad the offensive coordinator was the last few years. What did you think was going to happen? Coach, the other tragedy is Garrett is very happy because they intentionally made sure that they didn't change one coordinator, because one thing Jerry is not going to do is fire Jason Garrett in the middle of the season and give it to one of these two clowns on the offensive defensive coordinator. So Jason Garrett is very comfortable.
Yeah, because you don't even have anybody remotely around that they would even go to. No,
and the other problem, Coach, until the culture changes, let's just be honest, the Cowboy organization is not a big job that people just run in and go do.
So in other words, if we got ready to go try to find another coach, we lost Coach right there. We're gonna get him right back. God's giving us to it like it really and truly is. I totally agree with a lot of the things that he's breaking down and looking at and what we're hearing in here. But at the end of the day, Alan Branch has been sitting here just looking at this situation and breaking it down from the perspective of what it is that I see with the choices, decision making, the play call, and the things that are going on from that perspective. But when I look at it in the grand scheme of it now, it runs deeper, and Cox has a legitimate stance. I imagine a lot of Cowboy fans that are sitting there studying and digging into it as deep as they do probably have the reason. But when I come back to it, and I'm talking about it today, and what is the answer and where it is, I'm dealing more with what we have in front of us and its play call and its balance. You can't put a young quarterback in the situations that you're putting this quarterback into and expect for him to just work miracles. I mean, the real deal is no offensive team is going to thrive in a predictable environment like this. NFL stands not for long. These guys are sitting here on these Surface Pros and on the notes and all these long meetings, watching and breaking down all these tapes and studying tendencies and preparing themselves to stop you. You cannot sit there and they just read you like a magazine and know exactly what you're going to do. You're going to put them in a situation. You've got to be able to put a guy like Ezekiel Elliott with the appropriate number of carries so that I can respect that and create some kind of a balance in the attack. Anytime the defense already has you read before you even snap the ball, and they're constantly winning on all of their predictions and everything that they anticipation, and their anticipation is you can't disrupt the defense's anticipation, you're not going to be successful. I don't care who you have as a quarterback. Now you turn back around, you got a young quarterback sitting here like we have in a Dak Prescott. You got a decent offensive line, sustained some injuries. But the one thing about it is Alan Branch said 10-6, 9-7 this year. You're sitting here at 2-2 right now. Yeah, you can get it done. You can get to some situations if your staff, if your offensive coordinator, if your head coach had the ability to not just sit here and babysit an offense, but actually run an offense and really study and go into making choices and decisions and putting these young guys in position for people, not defenses, not just sitting here and teeing off on you. On the flip side of the ball, over on defense, now you're sitting there and you actually can stop somebody. You got two corners that are legitimate, viable cornerbacks in the deal. Cover guys. They helped my man with the Giants all year long. I mean, all game long in the opener. So I mean, it's exactly where it needs to be and what it is need to be doing. But Cox has uncovered it. Back in 180 seconds with more Lone Star Sports Show right here on the Lone Star Sports Network. Giving it to you like it is. All things sports, all things Texas. Today's show is brought to you by FastMallSports.com. This particular segment is brought to you by the Lone Star JUCO Prep Showcase. This weekend, October the 5th and 6th, Friday and Saturday at Drive Nation. Back in 180 seconds with more Lone Star Sports Show. Nice music there. Right here at the Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network. Yours truly, Alan Branch, giving it to you like it is. All things sports, all things Texas. Busy time right now. A lot going on. And it's just amazing the amount of roots. I don't think any other state can just dive off into everything going on, and we just got our hands just deep in the middle of it. I tell my coworker, under your money, y'all can hear me calling the Prince all the time. I said, man, we couldn't do what we do anywhere else but except in the state of Texas. Yeah. That is the real piece of it. There's just so many things, man, that we could be chopping up and hitting on. But, you know, I'm going to talk a little bit about Jimmy Butler, man. You know, one thing about it is that, you know, if you're going to understand the whole thing of why is Jimmy Butler asking for this trade and he wants out, first of all, you got to understand and know who Jimmy Butler is, you know, and I'm not going to go into all the details of why I know him as well. Some of the listeners may know, some of y'all just may need to Google or whatever, but if you want to understand the whole Timberwolves saga, Jimmy is not satisfied with, I make $100 million, I don't have anything else to worry about. I'm 29 years old. Got a great life. You know, that's not good enough for Jimmy. That does not get it done. If you want to go back and understand him, did you know him in the Marquette days? Did you know him when he was at Marquette, when he was willing to play 1 through 5 and compete, and winning always mattered to him? And nothing has changed, because Jimmy's of the mindset that if I compete and I win, all these other things will take care of themselves. The younger groups of players that are coming in now are more or less love the lifestyle more than they love the game. You know, Jimmy is, you know, the lifestyle is cool, but the game means as much. Jimmy is one of those kind of guys that realizes that there will be no lifestyle if we don't treat this game right. And that's one of the things that drive me. You know, a lot of people just get upset when he, you know, jumps on a younger player and says he's not trying, or he's not doing this, he's not doing that, he's not committed enough. It's just the way Jimmy sees it, you know, right there from Tomball, Texas. I mean, his perspective on it is just simply that. Jimmy knows that and understands and chooses not to ever see it any different, that if it wasn't for my commitment to the game, we wouldn't be talking about the lifestyle now. And you know, he's just a kid that's just not going to cheat the game. You know, he has too much respect for it. He sees it, and right now, what matters to him, I got enough money. I got enough money for me. I got enough money for my children that he doesn't have yet. If I have grandchildren, I have enough money for them. So the money is probably, when you get to be hands on $100 million, you know, before taxes, you pretty much have secured 2 to 3 generations. I don't know. Late life might know the statistics on something like that. We always go, every time we come down to money or politics, we go to lady life. But at the end of the day, that's what matters to him. So his deal is, now there's nothing else I can do but win a championship. So I'm in pursuit of that. You know, and this is how questionable you got to look at the culture. Some people want to ridicule or point a finger or say negative things or about Jimmy just because he wants to win, just because he wants to hold his teammates accountable. You know, and you know, I don't know why people, you know, would take that kind of a stance, but you know, it's unfair to him. You know, and I would stand right here and say it's unfair for someone to have a problem with him having that kind of a mindset.
And there's no coincidence for him first year being in the Minnesota Timberwolves and they make the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's not a coincidence.
No, because he brings that kind of toughness and that kind of deal. He's not a guy that demands a whole lot of shots.
It goes back to intangibles.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it goes back to intangibles. That's a good one. That is a huge piece. Now you have a guy that every time something small, a little, or unnoticeable, or unstatable, I like the unstatable term. I don't know if that's a such word or not, but Alan Branch just made that word up, unstatable. That means that you basically have something that you contribute to the process that does not have a column on the stat sheet. Very, very, very underrated aspect of evaluating players. You know, you look at some of the things that Pat Holmes does are unstatable. Baker Mayfield, unstatable. It goes back to those it factor type guys, and even when it comes down to winning, there are some unstatable things that players bring to the table that are key to having the ability to win. And Jimmy Butler is a poster child for that. Yeah, he puts up good numbers. He shoots 37, 38% from the three-point line. Doesn't require a whole lot of shots. Is able to average, is going to rebound. You know, a lot of people often forget. I can't remember what year that was. It probably was 2014, 15 when he did such a fantastic job on LeBron James in the playoffs. You know, the last time the Chicago and
Eastern Conference Finals.
Well, I don't want to say he locked LeBron up, but he
gave him problems.
Yeah, he gave him problems. I mean, he did as good a better job defensively than anybody's done. LeBron is arguably the one of the best players of all time. He's definitely the best active player probably in my opinion, one of the top 5 players of all times. And so you're talking about a guy that can bring defense to a guy like that. They have it's kind of amazing. They have Jimmy Butler listed here at 6'8". I remember the first time I was back in Milwaukee and I hadn't seen him in a minute, and he basically had grown from 6'5" to 6'7", maybe 6'4" to 6'7", and how much he had grown. So I guess according to them, he may have grown a little bit more. We had lunch, I guess, about 2 years ago in Houston and visited one another. And it's just really impressive how important and how true he still is to the game. How much he has not changed. I mean, he's always been a little introverted, who he is, and he wants to win. So now you say, okay, where does he end up? Where can he win at? That's the next piece. And this is one of the things I heard. I don't know if it was Will Kane or I think it was actually Stephen A. Smith. Talks about he'd be. And see, every time you hear Stephen A. Smith, I'm gonna hit you a little bit, Steve. We cool and everything, but I'm gonna hit you on this one a little bit. Every time you hear Stephen A. Smith coming with an idea to improve something or help something, it's always his team.
Yeah,
and he's a Philadelphia guy. A lot of people don't realize Stephen A. Smith spent a lot of time in Philadelphia, worked with the newspaper there. It's where he cut his teeth in Philly, even though he's a New York guy. And so he jumps up and says, "Oh man, I think Stephen A. Smith would." Stephen A. Smith jumps up and says, "I think Jimmy Butler would be great with the Philadelphia 76ers." I kind of understand where you're coming from on paper, but you throw this dude over to them young players. Them young players don't want to get it.
Right.
It ain't gonna be good.
No.
I mean, we walked right straight in the locker room, and while they, rallying about this and rallying about that and checking their numbers and stuff. And he'll turn back around and say, "Man, when the last time you won a basketball game?" he and I had got some inside information, and I know it was true because the person's tied to the person that did this. But one of the things that upset him there in Minnesota is that they came in, kind of on a little bit of a winning streak, and one of the players on the team was looking at his stats, his personal stats. So this wasn't a team stat sheet where he was trying to evaluate where we got to get better as a team. He was looking at his own numbers in the midst of, going toward contract negotiations, just kind of, those guys know each other. They know who's on what page and who's thinking what and what's important to him. And that was one of the first time he flew off the handle. But here's another, the swing around on everything here is, I don't see how it can get done, but it would really work for him in Houston.
Yeah.
How much better defense he brings to that team, which, defense has been one of the questionable things for Houston defensively.
And I think I guess you can say there's a void with Trevor Ariza being gone. So I'm feeling right there.
I think he's a better version of who Trevor Ariza is than who Trevor Ariza was.
Right.
I think he brings more versatility and brings some quality to multiple areas. So, I think you do have to look at that situation. I haven't had a chance to just dive all the way in, but, it looks like for it to happen and what the money situation is, it's going to require some moving around of some parts. It's going to require a third party.
Yeah.
To possibly make it happen. And I got that from a reasonable source. And actually had a chance to analyze some things myself. And, it looks like that's what it would take, to make that happen. But, everyone's saying Miami Heat. But, just as we've been sitting here on the show, just got a deal, that all things have stalled with the Miami Heat. So
I think Daryl Morey for Rockets is going to make it happen.
You already heard that right there. We're going to give him credit for it if it happens. We'll all enjoy it. A lot of people may not realize, and they just see Tomball, Texas. They don't realize Tomball, Texas is kind of like White House is with Tyler. It's just a little small town, so he'd be back at home. That would be huge for him. What if he got a chance to come back home, win a championship? Let's talk a little storybook. Come back home where it all started for him, win a championship, and potentially retire a Houston Rocket. Well, we know things like that. It's a little fairy tale-ish, but it sounds good.
Yeah.
It sounds good. So we wish Jimmy the best, man. Hope things continue to work out for you. and proud of you and everything, and really appreciate you for keeping it real. Wish you could just talk to some of these young guys right now coming up in the neighborhood in the state of Texas, understanding the value of keeping it real. We're right here at the Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network. Giving it to you like when we come back, we're going to break this thing down, these fall leagues, and what went on over in Duncanville, Texas at Duncanville High School this past Saturday. Got a little salty over there. Boys down there on Wheaton, let them know they wasn't playing around and why they were competing for a state championship last year. Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network. Be back in 180 seconds with more all things sports, all things Texas. This particular segment was brought to you by the Lone Star JUCO and Prep Showcase this coming weekend right there at Drive Nation. Over teams from 6 or 7 different states, and looking like it's going to be between 50 and 75 Division I coaches will be on hand evaluating players, junior colleges, prep schools, TCAL high schools. Going to be a hell of an outing out there. We're going to get it done Friday and Saturday at the Drive Nation facility right there in Irving, Texas at the DFW Airport. Back in 180 seconds with more Lone Star Sports Show. We'll talk a little high school basketball when we get back. Hey, here we are about the Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network. Giving it to you like it is. Heat Nation. Then they're trying to work on this whole Jimmy Butler situation with all that's going on. We're going to give it to you like it is here in the Lone Star State. Big grand state of Texas. Right here in Dallas, Texas. DFW area. Right there at Duncanville, Texas. We had this past weekend, Duncanville shootout this time of year. High school teams all over the state of Texas or having shootouts. These are nothing but glorified scrimmages. Opportunity for coaches to get their guys together and let them go out and try to build some type of team chemistry. You know, a lot of people don't know this. Coaches like this time of year, so this is the time that they like to expose their team and all of their weaknesses so that they can in turn go back and these guys are a lot more coachable after they bump their head a few times. I know that's a big thing going on this coming weekend with a lot of the junior college guys is to get the guys to understand that, you know, this time of year you don't have it all figured out. You can't do it by yourself. It's going to take more than just you to do it, and we're going to work together as a team. And guys become a lot more coachable. I don't think anybody's that worried about how good they are in October in basketball. That's just, even all the way to the NBA level. That's what's going on. With this past weekend, Duncanville basketball shootout, the buzz was back at Duncanville High School. Why was the buzz back? You bring in Justin Northwest out of there with a signee of going to Oklahoma State, Avery Anderson, and the big available 5'4" guy that's there in the 2019 class. They just played for a state championship this year. You have Carter High School, who lost a lot, but still brought probably over half of a team that played for a state championship this past year down there. And then you have I Entrepreneurial Academy located over in Louisville, Texas.
Yes, Louisville.
Yeah, Louisville, Texas. Brian Oubre, his first year, where he has the luxury of having John Oku, potentially one of the more recruitable big guys in the state of Texas, and potentially could end up as a top 100 kid in the country when it's all said and done. I think he's probably right on the verge of 100, but some people may already have him in the 2020 kid, a junior there, who's actually going on an official visit this weekend to Georgetown, where Patrick Ewing is now, and the kid and actually his guy that's his guardian, I guess we would say, is from that DC area. So they actually are going up to see situation there. I mean, they have a chance to get a good one, if they're involved. But I know that the kid has been recruited by Texas A&M. I know the kid is being recruited by LSU. Not sure who else is deeply involved with the kid. Anything jump to your mind on it?
Tulsa, Tulane, and Miami.
Miami. Yep. Miami has been doing a decent amount with him. They've been in, but actually, when I found out he was going, I forgot that I actually already knew that because of G-Day's being from Silver Springs, Maryland, mother being there. I think they were going up. He was going to visit, so they just kind of made it a little bit of a getaway trip, and let's go by and visit the guys at Georgetown. So Georgetown got lucky on this one. They were in the right place at the right time. So they got a visit over there. So that's one of the pieces going on. I think Robert Kirby came down and saw the kid, and then I think Patrick Ewing has seen some tape on the kid, and he trusts Robert Kirby. He said, let the kid come on in and watch practice and be around and see what he thinks. But back to this fall league Duncanville basketball shootout. That was Pool A was probably the pool that TexasBoysBasketball.com focused on the most. Although we did get a chance to look at a young guard who's a 2021 guard at Madison High School.
Yeah, Dallas Madison.
Yeah, Dallas Madison has a kid there that's just my second time maybe seeing him. What is he, like a 40 to 50 kid maybe?
40 to 50 kid. Had the chance.
He's a college prospect. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Yeah, he's definitely a college prospect. They had a couple other kids actually kind of caught my attention on the Dallas Madison team, and looks like my man going to get it all back together over there again if he keeps on getting enough of these young players. And he's always known. That's where Amon Gilder, who is Texas A&M, had all the success that he had and championships they won when he was there. And so it looks like coaches they've got their old coach that was a big part of all the success they had over there. Mobley. Yep, Mobley is back there. And so they were, we'll say, going in the right direction over there. But Big Sam, Samuel, what's Samuel's last name? Samuel Freeman, Northwest. So it was a good outing. But I guess the biggest thing is what's going on at Duncanville High School. Duncanville High School has hired a new coach, David Peavy. You saw him and met him right here on the Lonestar Sports Show, Lonestar Sports Network. Potentially one of the best high school coaching jobs in the country, arguably, and in my opinion, maybe the best situation in the state of Texas right now. And where it goes and you say, well, what makes a good job? I mean, obviously money has a little bit to do with it, facilities, dynamics of the town that you're living in. How sincere the administration and the community are about winning. So all those things play into what makes a job a good job. And I think you can check all the boxes. And when you can hire David Peavy, and he brings in his son, Michael Peavy, who is potentially a top 50 kid in the country right now in the 2020 class. And now they have attracted Jamias Ramsey, who I think is in, 50, 40-ish, 45 to 55 in the country.
Like 40s.
Yeah, 40s. Right. Just outside of being a McDonald's All-American type candidate, with a lot depending. But so people always say, what happened? What happened over there, Ranch? Well, we were there. We were there on time. It started at 9 o'clock. 8:55, we had our seatbelt on. We were locked right in. You roll in. You have a Justin Northwest game. I think that first game was
against Dallas Carter.
Dallas Carter and Justin Northwest, and then you had Duncanville and our academy, or our entrepreneurial academy is the full name of it. Kind of gotten the nickname of our academy right now. Our high school, I think they call it.
Yeah, just our high.
Yeah, our high. How about that? Them kids get it figured out, give them a chance. But so it was good watching. Staff was there and full. Rob Wright was there, Onion Money, and then yours truly, Alan Branch, sitting down looking at all of it. And I was more focused on the game one. I spent all of my time, I guess, on Entrepreneurial Academy and watching the big kid. Michael Peavy was out getting his driver's license. I never did ask me if he passed his driving test.
It was raining that day too.
Yeah, that was really, really scary. But no, nice kid and really talented players. Got a chance to do some great things. But so they're all there, so we get a chance to really, really take a hard look at it. Well, okay, Branch, stop holding back. Okay, what went on? Jamias Ramsey in game one. What were your thoughts about game one against our academy with Jamias?
I thought he was solid. I thought he was okay. Really at his best when he got to the rim. Finish.
Didn't shoot the ball. We always know he's been a capable shooter, but a streaky shooter.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
But a talented player.
Yeah, but he was a big reason they came back and won that game.
Okay, all right, there you go. Let's go fair deal. I really appreciate that you set it up and make it work real good.
Yeah,
I believe Onion Money might be covering his bases on that deal. He got to cover his bets on that thing. But we moved on through the day, and Avery Anderson, who's a Oklahoma State commit and soon to be signing there at Oklahoma State, a guard, capable point guard, does a little bit of everything well, and who had a decent weekend. Was really solid there, and didn't do anything. I thought Samuel continued to be who he was.
Right.
There wasn't anything new or different about any of that. I do think he's getting a little smarter of understanding how to play with players, how to play to his strengths, or what I like to call it. He's learning how to play toward opportunity. I feel like he's understanding better.
Do you think he's starting to really embrace his role? Do you think that?
Well, yeah, embracing the role maybe could be another way of saying it. The way I like to say it or see it is he's understanding where success is for him. And what happens a lot of time with big guys before we go to break is that they want to achieve or reach success like the other guys.
Right.
And in actuality, for a post or a big man, the running and where the basketball is played for him is at the glass and at the rim and above the rim. And that's where he's going to be at his best. So I think he's starting to learn how to be more part of those opportunities, or recognizing that the opportunity even exists, where you get a lot of big guys, young big guys that really just buy into the fact that I need touches and I want to step out and shoot like the guards shoot. But in the reality of it, when you're 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", like you'll see this weekend with, I want to say 30-plus guys between 6'8" and 7'1", the guys that are going to be successful this weekend are the big guys, are the guys that run well and the guys that play above the rim or at the rim and off of the glass. That's where the biggest part of the opportunities. That's what you see with Samuel, is he's starting to embrace that and understand that you're going to get taken care of if you just continuously run and go to the glass, and all the rest of it will come and move right on along. But get ready to take a break here. We're going to come back and talk about the premier game of the neighborhood right here in our neighborhood, right here in Oak Cliff, was the Dallas Carter Duncanville Panther, Dallas Carter Cowboys met in a fall league game that was a barn burner. Back in 180 seconds with more of the Lone Star Sports Show right here on the Lone Star Sports Network. Hey, here we're back here at the Lone Star Sports Show, probably about 15 seconds ahead of schedule. They don't know I got a clock in my head over there, too. I can keep up with the process. Now I'm supposed to be back right here on the Lone Star Sports Show, all things sports, all things Texas, giving it to you in the uncut version, true courtside, sideline, insider type information, however you want to look at it. We are a reliable source of what's going on in sports in Texas, especially when it comes to the high school to college level. We dive into, give our opinion and observations on what's going on at the professional level, a lot of times on the NBA level. And we're basketball heavy. We don't mind. We want to be truthful, right here on the Lone Star Sports Show. We're basketball scouts for a living. We run basketball events. We're basketball guys. We have a strong football background and some football acumen, understanding of what's going on, and can make some rational deductions just about anybody like anybody else out here in this business or any other reporter or journalist type person. We read a few offenses and read a few defenses and made some choices, made some decisions, and played in front of more than 30 or 40,000 people at one time. So got a good feel of how it goes. But in basketball, we are experts, and that's where we are right now in our expert world. We got an expert look at what went on And uneven money, what you saw this past weekend is what every talented player has tests he has to pass or fire he has to go through to identify who he really and truly is. And, you don't kill a player behind a tough outing, but when you carry the accolades and the rankings and all of the attention, when you come to Oak Cliff, these dudes are going to roll right up on you and say, look, this ain't Oak Hill, buddy, this is Oak Cliff. And they dove right up in Jemias Ramsey's behind. One time double teaming, talking trash to him, into him. Yeah. And whether he was having a bad day or frustrated or whatever, but he's just giving a recipe for how the rest of these dudes are going to check him down here in Texas. Jemias left here and went down to not Mount Verde, but IMG, and where he had a decent outing, and then left there and went to Oak Hill for a couple of weeks, and that didn't seem to be the politically correct place for him to be. And don't get this wrong. None of this questions the kid's talent. It's just that as you grow as a player, you're going to run into things that are going to challenge you. And the question is how do you react to adversity? How do you deal with what do you think, LeBron? What do you think all these great players do when people have to scheme and plan against you? You're talking about, being recruited by Oregon, Louisville. I think the University of Texas may have just jumped in. Multiple people involved. Texas Tech, I think, may be in the lead on this kid. And if you think you're going to go into the Big 12, Pac-12, ACC, or SEC or any of these conferences where you're not going to be confronted, the only difference in what you got from Dallas Carter is there's going to be more like 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", guys that look just like you with that kind of mentality. And, I'm going to tell you, I'm not sure if Jemias has ever had anybody to come at his head like that. Because, he was a total different player in the first game. He kind of was where he was, and nobody wasn't too much. He had his back and forward with the kid going to Oklahoma State, Avery, which I didn't think he guarded him exceptionally well because of, the way he chose to guard him, not because of Avery being way better than him or him not being as good as Avery. I just thought he made some bad choices and decisions. But, anytime you sit in a fall league game, let me tell you, people that are listeners, a fall league game is nothing but a glorified scrimmage where they get a chance to charge you $10 to come watch. That's all it is. So anytime it's serious business, when you roll up into a fall league game, we've been sitting there just kind of watching basketball, evaluating players. Now when Carter and Duncanville get ready to play, now all of a sudden we see about 50 or 60 fans with red and blue shirts on. Oh, yeah. Show up. Mamas and dad, and all show up. It's serious business. It's a neighborhood rivalry. And for some reason or another, somebody forgot to tell Jemias Ramsey these dudes are coming here to get your head.
And they'll come in waves.
Yeah, and they came. They don't. They're not will coming. They came in waves. Yeah, they came in waves. Like a tsunami. Yeah. Me and Rob was standing there. Rob right now was standing there on the baseline. It was surrounded. It got that buzz was in the air. They'd like to congratulate Duncanville High School. Mission accomplished. Y'all are back on the map now, it looks to be. And so Rob said, man, I wonder if he tweaked something or something. I said, no, I don't think he tweaked anything. I think he got some tweaks after of him. Dude's trying to make him tweak something. Yeah. But, he just wasn't accustomed to that kind of attention, I don't think. And could have been feeling bad because I heard he had a headache. I heard a couple of different insider type stories. Wasn't feeling well, whatever. But, and let me tell you something. It's kind of like the old Sock and Roosevelt days, the old Kimball and Carter days. These kids sit here when you got DeSoto, Duncanville, Cedar Hill, DeSoto, Carter, Duncanville, anything in this little radius of about 10 miles, it turns into I don't mean literally a war zone, but it's a very competitive environment. And they take it serious. Like I said, we're right here at a fall league game, and then you got a Carter High School. We want to give Coach Love, credit for creating the culture, because, Landon Love has definitely created a culture at Carter High School that, he doesn't have these highly acclaimed players, even though I think he may have had 2 or 3 players to go to college off this past team. Mm-hmm. But, you know, you're not looking at a bunch of 5-star guys, but you do get some guys with bring 5-star energy.
I don't. He's the one school in Texas I just wouldn't want to play.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they bring it like that. It's kind of like where Yates was, you know, a few years ago. I mean, Yates, they're just hard to play against.
Yeah.
You know, and if you don't bring the right kind of culture and the right kind of IQ and understanding, there's a way to play against that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And you know, it requires a lot of thinking and planning and IQ and understanding of how to neutralize it. And I just don't think Jamias was accustomed to that. I'm not sure in his whole high school, you don't get that kind of stuff in summer ball where guys come after you like that. I'm not sure Jamias had ever seen anything like that, you know. Say, man, this is a fall league game. What are y'all doing? These dudes act like they were playing for the national championship. Yeah. Yeah. Now, one thing I can say for young Peavy, you know, and I guess, you know, being there, I guess he'd rather deal with the kids down on Wheatland at Carter High School than have to deal with his father about this. So he said, I'm gonna take the high road on this and go ahead and play these dudes. And they fought back into a 2-possession game where Carter ended up, you know, winning according to the scoreboard, but demonstrated that Carter Cowboys are going to continuously be extremely competitive. The real question is, how does Jamias bounce back off of this? I mean, you've got the whole world watching. They're kind of backing up. They're not going to be doing this or that. And how do you react? I mean, and that's part of being his. So, I mean, the one thing you have to say about Jamias Ramsey, it's not a talent issue.
No,
it's not a talent issue at all. I think this is an opportunity for him to roll his sleeves up, bounce back, and have a chance to make a McDonald's run, you know, with the kind of production and what he does when he goes about. You know, it's like I said earlier, I think the guys are ready for a lot of coaching when they go through those things, you know, if they're going to pursue. So my encouragement to a guy like shout out to Jamias Ramsey is roll this up, chalk it up to some experience. You know who you are as a player. Now start and look and see how y'all as a team can really accomplish something that you have ability. Because the kid transferred over from DeSoto High School, 6'5" kid, 6'4", 6'5" kid, can't call his name right now. Had the beard, could play the kid. He brings a lot, you know. So I mean, you know, the buzz is definitely back in Pathlon right there in Duncanville High School. Hats off to Carter Cowboys. This past year's 5A state champion finalist for the state championship.
4A because they play Salisbury.
Yep, you're right. Yeah. You're right. There he is. Under the Prince. Y'all just heard him. Keeping it where it needs to be. There was 4A. They played Salisbury. It's just so crazy to imagine that Darthouse Carter being 4A now. But no, have to be because they're in the same district with Wilton Hutchins and Roosevelt. Right. Okay, I don't have to go any farther on that one. But, you know, coming off of that, they look like they're in definitely position to compete for it again. It'll be interesting. I think Wilton Hutchins could be predicted to win that district and then kind of go from there. But I thought the Carter Cowboys still had the same culture, same expectations, and really brought it. I felt like Micah Peavy has had another growth spurt, both vertically and in between his ears. I think he's gotten a lot mentally tougher, mentally matured. You know, that kid has been on a high school team for his first 2 years of high school, where he was always the youngest kid on the team. You know, so this is the first time that he's somewhere close to as being a junior now, being in a situation, because he, as a freshman, he was on with all juniors, and as a sophomore, he was on with all seniors, and now he's a junior where there's a mixture. So now this whole leadership gene or leadership piece has to come out in him, and is he going to take an alpha role? That's going to have a lot to do with the success of it, and show flashes of it. Because when the water got hot and Jamias wasn't there to help neutralize the process, he never backed up and probably ended up with, like, I want to say 25 and 17 in that outing, rebounded well. I saw him down at John Lucas camp, rebounded it well there. So I thought there were a lot of good things that came out of it. John Oku, talked about earlier, going over to visit Georgetown right now. Got some solid pieces out of that. So, good outing this weekend, watching what all went on. Going to be very intriguing where you go from that. If you guys get a chance, you get out to Irving, Texas, Dallas, Texas, DFW Airport, right there on Rental Car Drive at Drive Nation facility where the Lonestar JUCO and Prep Showcase. You can see it out there on Twitter. You can see it on the 5-state Hoop Report, the schedule, and all the prospects that are going to be out. There'll be college coaches out in full force. We'll have junior colleges there, community colleges at the Division II level, and we'll have fifth-year prep schools. And there will also be TCAL high schools. I think 4 or 5 of those guys will participate in the deal. With roughly 30 teams, roughly about 300 athletes, and about 75 Division I coaches. Come take a look and see how you can take a look at what the next thing coming down the pipeline is and who's hot, who's got it. I can remember Jimmy Butler playing an event just like this, 10 years ago. So you never know where you're going to see it and where it's going to be. Brought to you by Texas Grassroots Basketball, the Lonestar JUCO and Prep Showcase. I think it's the 9th or 10th annual Lonestar JUCO Prep Showcase right there at Drive Nation. We'll be there from 1 o'clock to 9 o'clock on day one. That Friday, October the 5th, and October the 6th. We'll be there from 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock until 7 o'clock. Come check out the JUCO and Prep Showcase, brought to you by Texas Grassroots Basketball, the Lonestar JUCO and Prep Showcase, Drive Nation this weekend, Friday and Saturday, all day Friday. Back next Thursday, this Thursday, with basketball Thursday. We'll be talking about some other things going on, see where this whole situation is going with Jimmy and the whole process. Y'all continue to have a good, tomorrow is hump day. Go get it in. Get something done so you can get prepared to enjoy your OU Texas weekend. See you on about 48 hours.